Hey there, hey friends, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Wednesday and welcome to the very first video of Thrifty Pastel Month 2025. But wait, don't let the word pastel run you off because in today's video, I'm going to show you how anyone, and I do mean anyone, can use pastels. First, let's look at what Thrifty Pastel Month is. This is a month-long challenge that runs throughout the month of November. It includes just 4 weekly prompts, giving anyone who participates 1 full week to tackle each prompt. The only rule is to create whatever the prompt inspires you to create using any medium in the realm of pastel. This could include chalk pastel, oil pastels, wax pastels, pastel colored pencils, pastel watercolor pencils, pastel shades of gouache, and or pastel shades of watercolor. Now in today's video, I'm taking you on a journey to explore how you can use that seemingly needless white watercolor inside your set to create a beautiful pastel landscape. This will be beginner friendly, yet interesting enough for artists of all levels to give it a try. So let's head over to the creation table so I can show you how you can finally champion that white watercolor pen inside your paint set. For supplies, I'm going to be using New York Central 140-pound cold pressed acid-free paper. This one is 100% cotton. You use what you have. I'm using Arta Pocket Box watercolor set. It's an economical set. I just grabbed it out of Backstash. Any watercolor set with a white will work. I'm using a black colored brush pen. Any brush pen or watercolor marker you have in your collection will work. And I'm also using a black fountain pen, but you can use a fountain pen or a regular black pen. Both of these happen to be water soluble, and that's all you're gonna need, so let's get started. So friends, as you have probably already figured out in this demo, we are going to be tackling week 1 of Thrifty Pastel Month. The prompt for week 1 is outside. So I am jumping in using just that 12 color watercolor set. Now, this is an excellent way to show you guys how, regardless of what you think, even if the only thing you have is that watercolor set, you can definitely turn those colors into pastel shades. And you're gonna see me doing that throughout this video by simply mixing white into all of my colors in order to lighten them so that they will give soft, glowy colors. Now, I'm starting off by mixing what I do believe is the cerulean in this set with the white, and I'm going to base in my sky. I mixed the vermilion with white in order to get a softer pinkish hue, and I am just kind of wisping that in between the blue parts of the sky. Now, I took that same vermilion with the white, mixed it with the cerulean that had white in order to kind of get this muted, desaturated purple pastel that I also put in the sky just to add a little depth. And then afterwards, I'm going back in with that vermilion, a little less white in it, but enough to make sure that once the color actually hit the wet background, it's going to disperse into clouds. And because the background is wet and the color is so light, there will be an even bigger shift once it dries, giving me more of a pinkish pastel tone. And then I'm going to go back and add shadow to those clouds using the same color with a little less white in it. What you will see is that as it disperses in the sky, in that wet wash, you're going to get all these different shades and variations of this really beautiful pinkish, reddish, almost reddish orange pastel tone. Very beautiful and soft, even more so once it dries. Now, I moved into doing the water after that, and I'm actually going in with the cerulean full strength for the darkest color, and then for the lightest shades of blue in the water, I'm still going to be using that cerulean mixed with that white to give me that blue pastel tone. I'm also going to throw in hints of the purple, which, I'm sorry, not purple, but the pinkish pastel tone, which is made from the vermilion mixed with white. And I'm going to, just like I did in the sky, I'm wisping it in to the water because you would have it reflecting. Anything that's in your sky would be reflecting in your water. Now, keep in mind that when you're doing these reflections, you don't have to be 100% precise. Nothing has to be 100% exact because we are painting instead of shooting a photo. After you allow those two sections to dry, the rest of this is pretty easy, breezy, and straightforward. I grabbed a black Color-It brush pen, and you don't have to have the Color-It brand. I just happen to like this brand because it's refillable, but of course this is a black dye-based ink, so it's going to be pretty transparent, but because it has a brush head, it allows me to have a lot of control. And I'm going to be using that in combination with a fountain pen, which happens to be black as well, in order to draw in this little peninsula area, give it some grass, put in some taller trees, and I'm switching back and forth between the pen, the fountain pen, and the brush pen in order to pull this off. Now, at this point, we're basically done with the paints, which is why I said that this was a super beginner-friendly demo or tutorial, whatever you want to refer to it as. But the object was to show you how you could take those watercolors, mix in that white paint, which you typically don't use. I mean, we probably all have a huge collection of white that we don't use. But this was just an example of how you could utilize that white. It won't go to waste. And you could also participate in any type of pastel challenge because now you have taken that white and mixed it in to make pastel shades in order to paint with. And it's pretty easy. I'm wrapping this up by throwing in some more grasses around the base of the trees that I put in. And then I'm actually going to take that brush pen and scribble some of it out on the palette. With this being a water-soluble ink in it, I'm able to mix in water and thin it down. That way I can go ahead and put in the reflections of the trees from that peninsula in the water. Now, watering down that dye-based black ink makes it super, super soft. So it's not going to stand out nearly as harsh or as hard as when you went in direct on the paper with the pen. And as you can see, as I put in these reflections, they're actually soft and they look like reflections. Now, I'm not trying to be too exact. I'm just kind of making some scribbly lines just to fool the eye into thinking, oh, well, those are the reflections of the trees. And then I'm going to wisp some of that same diluted black ink throughout my water. What this does is add a little depth to the body of water, and it also adds shadow. Who knows where that shadow's coming from, right? To wrap all of this up, really easy. White gouache. In my case, I'm using Bleed Proof by Dr. P.H. Martins. You can use whatever white gouache that you have that's opaque, okay? I'm throwing in a moon or a sun, depending on how you look at it and what time of day you want it to be. And then I'm gonna also throw in some reflections of that moon or sun into the water. And I'm using a liner brush here to make my lines really wispy and thin. I'm going to put in a water line along the peninsula, and then you'll see me wisp in some of that white throughout the body of water in order to make it look like that sun or moonlight is reflecting over the entire surface. And that, my friends, is pretty much going to wrap things up. I'll throw in a signature because I always sign. And believe it or not, I decided not to put birds in this one, so it's definitely really straightforward. I'm highlighting some of the branches on the trees just to show that the moonlight is reflecting, and that is pretty much it, friends. Oh, I did put birds in it, huh? So I take that back. I threw some birds in the sky. They always add just a little extra dimension to a really simple landscape. Just make sure you do an odd and not an even number, friends. That wraps it up, and I'm going to see you on the other side of this. To finish everything off, I adhered the painting to the November calendar in order to complete the project. And I have to say, I think it turned out pretty well. I hope this is some encouragement for you all to see that you can participate in this challenge or in many challenges, or just simply make pastels out of the colors you already have inside your watercolor collection by just utilizing the white inside of your paint set. And here we have completed week 1 of Thrifty Pastel month. The prompt was outside, and I did it in pastel watercolors. So hopefully you guys saw something, picked up on something, or just enjoyed hanging out for the demo. If you did, don't forget to sprinkle a little love and give the video a thumbs up. You can jump in the comment section, let me know what you thought of today's video. I would really love your feedback, and tell me what you plan on doing and what products you're planning on using throughout Thrifty Pastel month. I would really like to know, my friends. You can check the video description for all relevant links. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscription button and the notification bell. And as I tell you at the end of every single video, my friends, just keep creating.